you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello there, Fright fans. Jaime and Fuego here, and once again returning for a Patreon review, and one that we're doing a little bit of catch-up on, you know, if I want to make the Pulp Fiction joke, but it's for our buddy Sam Glass, and this is an older one. This one's 1968, and this one is called Quartermass and the Pit, and it most definitely feels like sci-fi geared horror from this particular era, but yet still going for it 100%. And I have always loved a melding of science fiction and horror together, and that's what we get with Quartermass and the Pit. So they're doing this expansion in it's like the London Underground or something. I don't know if it's for like a train system down there or whatever, but so as the expansion is taking place, these construction workers, they essentially turn into like excavation people, because they find this weird orb of an object, and there's some very peculiar skeletons down there, and it ventures very quickly into some theories from this local scientist guy about whether this was actually, you know, from prehistoric times, or if it was from like another world, so to speak, or could it potentially be both? And you know, without confirming or spoiling anything, I most definitely say that, yeah, this film, despite not necessarily being a era of horror that I always venture towards, it still delivered, and especially from a storytelling standpoint. You know, this one entertained me, and yes, there is a essence of overacting at times, and but it was just very typical of the genre at that particular point. I feel like you had to give that sort of earnest energy to get people to just, I guess, digest these like bigger ideas, so to speak. And this one was very tough to track down, unfortunately. I think I found a copy of it. It was either Dailymotion or Vimeo or something like that somebody had uploaded and broken it into its two separate halves. But just to give a little bit of a rundown about some of these esteemed older thespians in this, you had Andrew Keir, you had Barbara Sheely, James Donald, and also Julian Glover, you know. But lots of names that I didn't recognize, but nonetheless, I felt like they brought it. They most definitely did from an acting standpoint, especially with how the disagreements between like the military and the science community and everything, which does very much become a topic of contention amongst them, especially as we veer like later on into trying to just decipher and figure out what this strange race that they found, you know, dead or dormant, like what could they potentially be. And so that's once again where I have to jump around on eggshells, unfortunately, because there's a lot of how big and grandiose this third act actually gets that, you know, we can't reveal here if we're trying to be non-spoilery. And so I was impressed. I legitimately was. And I also really appreciated the fact that they went for a little bit more of a down ending than I was anticipating. And so that's, especially for this era of science fiction horror, that's where it was even more just, you know, props for being, I hate to use a term like balls here, but yeah, then you have balls, I have balls. And yeah, that was most definitely how they approached this. And it does get big and intriguing in how everything reveals. And as from a effects standpoint, yes, it does look a little more dated and cheesy at times, especially with like the skull discoveries and skeletons and everything, you know, but it still worked for me, you know, most notably for just the fact that the genre was really still kind of figuring it out. I feel like 60s horror was a transitional phase from, like, you know, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and, you know, just bringing in coloration and bringing in darker, grosser sort of themes on a more prominent level. And this is right where stuff was really about to, I think, go for it more so than a lot of others anticipated in the coming years. And so 1968, and, director, just trying to double check on the name real quick, Roy Ward Baker. It still looked very cool at times. It shows its age, but the fact that the material was not approached in a campy way, I feel like really worked for the finished product. And this was adapted from Quartermass in the Pit, which I believe was a short story, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I dug it, and this is most definitely the type of thing that I think could be remade today. And it's, yes, we've gone on to have similar themes of prehistoric versus intergalactic and lost species and all of that sort of stuff, but it does intriguingly explore all of those themes. And I feel like with just modern budgets, this could be a badass remake and could really just shine awesomely for all of those who just didn't experience the original properly. And so for being able to experience the original properly, I most def gotta give a serious amount of thanks to Sam Glass once again. This was, I don't know if this is actually on physical release anywhere. Once again, as I mentioned, it's not streaming. That's one of the biggest bummers, the fact that I had to Google search to find the video for it. And thankfully I did, though, because I always am intrigued by Sam's recommendations, because, being a little bit older than me, he has just that attunement and just stretching so much further back the just amount of horror knowledge, especially in decades that I'm a little less familiarized with. That's where checking out something like Quartermass and The Pit is always intriguing and insightful. So thank you so very much, Glass. Once again, if you would like to become a patron yourself, we have all of the information in the description box below. Once again, over 100 videos on there, well over 100 at this particular point, and lots of other cool requests coming. And you can support with the boogie box that we do. It's kind of our own version of a BAM box with some very cool curated horror stuff, and that you can request reviews and commentaries. And we're just getting ready to record a commentary right now for the 4K release of Tremors, so I do have to cut this one a little bit shorter than anticipated. But once again, Sam, you're an awesome man. And yeah, everybody, until next time, Fright fans, I have been Jaime and Fuego, and remember to stay scared.